Hello and welcome to the fun-filled nonsense retrospective. I'm your host as always, Rick, and joining me equally as always is Devon.
Should we not be referring to each other as generals today?
Well, general, commander, captain, oh captain, my captain. Yeah, we got our super special secret fantasy armies today. It's not quite a nonsense rumble. We're not even fighting them against each other, but well,
based on the way we've,
for that.
Yeah, you could say the reason right now, Rick. Like I've gone strictly fantasy and Rick's gone strictly sci-fi, so yeah.
Like, does Elminster stand a chance against against Horus? Maybe not.
Elminster's a bad example to pick because Elminster's busted.
Okay, yeah. Elminster might actually stand a chance against War Master Horus.
Do you know what the funny thing is the reason why I stuck myself to fantasy setting is because if I was in sci-fi, I would just have the Primarchs as all of my slots.
Yep. Like, the Primarchs just have enough things covered that they'll just have something about them to like cover all the slots. Even if there is someone better in the Warhammer universe, the fact that the Primarchs are all human asterisk and will work together means that they will be a very good team. So I've tried to be a little bit more inventive than that. Yeah, I've gone sci-fi, Devon's gone fantasy. But yeah, we're having our armies, but before we get too far into that, let's go with the good old time-honoured opening of the nonsense asinine hypotheticals. What have you got for me today?
Every so often, Rick, when you do the intro to the hypothetical, I do have this little niggling in the back of my mind that just says, has he forgotten the name of the segment?
No, I'm gearing myself up to do the thing where I move the voice around.
Yeah, my question's pretty easy today. Well, it was an easy question to come up with. I don't know if it'll be easy to answer, but there are many fictitious, ultimate, legendary, or just cool gimmick units in military organizations. You get to have one under your command. Who do you pick and why?
Ooh,
So obviously we've got from Warhammer, you got like Gaunt's Ghosts. In Star Wars, you could pick the 501st. Don't know why you'd pick that one in particular, but you know, I'm just cherry picking things you might know.
Yeah. I think in general, like, Dogs of War were a cool thing in Warhammer Fantasy, and I seem to remember that there was essentially just a roving dragon. That, like, the way that you could have a dragon in any army was to pick the one that was a Dogs of War.
I don't think that was a thing unless it was a very old version of Warhammer. Because when I played, Dogs of War were specifically units that you could pay for with gold, like explicitly mercenaries in the lore.
Yeah, they were very definitely mercenaries, and the idea was that any army could just hire these mercenaries, and they were generally a little less powerful than whatever like your rare slot was, but the fact that you could choose that one no matter what your army was made them that little bit more flexible, you know?
It's one of those yes and no scenarios because a lot of armies didn't have access to guns, but Dogs of War units meant that you could have a unit with guns.
Yeah, you could have a bunch of like dwarven snipers or whatever.
Yeah, of course, the fun part about Dogs of War is despite being mercenaries, there were still limitations. So ogres could work with anyone because everyone knows as long as you keep an ogre's belly full, they'll be on your side. But dwarfs explicitly couldn't work with goblins or orcs.
Yeah, and like nobody wants to work with Skaven.
God, no. I think goblins would.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, they got that goblin energy. Man. Is there anyone that would be more reliable than the Bad Batch? I don't think so.
That's a pretty good pick.
Yeah, like, they don't win all the time. We see them lose now and again, but that's very definitely now and again. Normally they win, and they find ways through where there otherwise is none. We've seen like multiple seasons of them succeeding again and again, and yeah, I think the Bad Batch are a good pick. How about you? Have you got a pick for this exact question?
I do, but it's kind of cheating because it's technically an army.
Okay.
I pick very specifically the fake over-the-top bullshit version of the 300 Spartans for Mapalai.
Okay, so like the movie version, or
movie version, graphic novel, whatever you want to go for. Either way, that bullshit version that is not how it happened, guys.
yeah. That this is Spartans.
Yeah. Like just having that under your command, it's like, no, I'm pretty confident. I'm good.
Yeah. Oh, it's the response if, isn't it?
Oh, that was that was also like entirely that was a historic interaction between the King of Sparta and I want to say Philip of Macedon, Alexander's father.
Yeah.
But it was also a really hyperbolic one because at that point Sparta was not a damn thing. The only reason Philip didn't invade is because it wasn't worth the effort, not because he was scared of Sparta.
Yeah. Like, mimetically, it sounds really badass. Of if I come here, I will blah blah blah. I will blah blah blah. I will blah blah blah. And the response is just if. Yeah. I think you told me this one recently, actually.
I mean, no, I think you probably heard it off QI because that's where I heard it.
Yeah, fair enough.
Originally,
EQI or a YouTube short.
Yeah. It's very cool and very badass, but the only reason, again, they didn't get invaded immediately is because it's Sparta. They're not worth anything at this point.
Yeah, fair enough. But yes.
Oh yeah, sorry. What about you? What's your hypothetical for me? Sorry, I forgot we were in the podcast.
Yeah, my one for you is you get a video game ability. You can have fast travel. You can have the ability to level up your skills, or you can have the ability to check your nearby people's relationship values with you. What do you pick?
I mean, when you initially said this, my brain went to double jump. However, you then said fast travel, and I can't think of any ability that's more useful than that.
Yeah, like, I was going to add, like, the infinite storage box, but fast travel just solves the storage box on its own, doesn't it?
Does it?
I think it does. Like, you pick up a thing, you fast travel somewhere, you put it down, you fast travel back.
It kind of depends what fast travel means.
Yeah, because if it's like Skyrim where it's implied that you spend the time...
I assume that fast travel was, I get to skip the travel part, but the time still passes.
Yeah, that would be kind of horrifying, actually. You just do that and you just accidentally travel to the sun. Or, like, somewhere beyond the stars, and you just spend, like, millions of years traveling somewhere, but you skipped it, and you go, oh, shit, I have to go back to Earth now.
I mean, I don't think that would happen. I just meant, like, literally, like, you physically do the journey, you're just not there for it.
Yeah. I'm definitely also picking the fast travel. Like, I don't think anything is as good as fast travel.
I mean, if you want to take a less godly ability, I still think double jump's pretty neat.
Yeah, I like double jump. Like, it's double jump. Wall jump is another pretty good one, but double jump can be done without walls.
Yeah, the only problem is I can't jump very high, so double jump would be very limited in use, but you can train yourself.
Oh yeah, double jump for me would probably be about thigh height.
Double jump for me would be like jumping the height of just like a regular athletic dude.
Yeah, for me, it's even if that. Like, I think my regular jump is like, chin. So maybe I get to knee.
I've got to be honest with you, Rick. I couldn't tell you when the last time I jumped was.
Yeah, I jumped down
That's
from
not jumping,
walls
no.
and stuff. Yeah,
no,
I know,
you
right?
don't.
Okay. I jumped down from the wall by my house when I need to go through the woods.
Is that jumping or is that just stepping?
It's going from a height to a lower height. Like, I'm not stepping down. Like, this is the one where you actually do have to jump down.
I don't really count that as jumping.
And to get back, you have to climb.
Because by that logic, I jump off the train.
Okay, this is like more than the height of a sofa, you know?
Okay, but you get my point, though.
Yeah, this is like maybe the height of 2 tables. So yeah, like that's how far down I jump.
But again, that's not you jumping that height. It's when I say jumping, I mean jumping from standing.
Oh yeah, I'm not jumping up.
Yeah, but that's my point, though. That's what jumping is to me, is jumping in place, not jumping down, because jumping down isn't really jumping, it's traversing.
Yeah, now what you're doing there is jumping.
I see what you're going for, but you went a bit too West Country.
Yeah. Oh man, say Apple. Today we're going to talk about our fantasy picks for our army. As we said, Devon's doing the fantasy style, and I'm doing the sci-fi one. And we're going to start with the big boss of them all, the Grand General.
I think we should just very quickly outline how we're forming these armies, just so people have a brief idea what they're getting into.
Yeah, sure. So we got a Grand General and a strategist in the HQ segment. We have a Vanguard, Middle Guard, and Rear Guard for the major army. These are your commanders of the units rather than the units themselves. And you have a Strike Force leader, a kind of roving special character, as it were.
Yeah, I like to think of this as a leader of raiders.
Yeah, Yeah.
We also did have Naval Commander, but we cut it out because Rick couldn't think of one.
No, because the closest thing I have to a naval commander for the space is basically taken up by my strategist slot already.
Because Rick is incredibly predictable.
Oh, so I'm incredibly predictable. I could have picked a different one, but why would I? So yes, who's going to be your big boss Grand General?
My big boss Grand General is going to be Glorfindel from Lord of the Rings.
Ah, yes. The is this Arwen's big brother or something?
Oh, not related to Arwen at all. However, Arwen took his place in the movies.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So he's the one that like saves the Fellowship when they're getting close to Rivendell.
Yeah. So he's the one who. Yeah. He's basically one of the few people in Middle Earth who is just like, bad guys, don't fuck with this guy. There's no point.
Yeah. He's like the Balrog of good.
Speaking of Balrog, he's killed at least one Balrog, allegedly.
Yeah. Sweet.
But yeah, Glorfindel is an interesting character. He was suggested at one point to be the ring bearer. The only problem is he's such a big dick fucking OG that Sauron would immediately try to attack him.
Yeah. Attack and or corrupt.
I think it's sort of implied that...
Try and get rid of him.
I think it's sort of implied it's difficult to corrupt Glorfindel.
Yeah. Or indeed that it's difficult to corrupt the elves because they know about it and like they've stopped using their rings for a while ago, haven't they?
I don't know, it's weird because I think Galadriel still actively has hers.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's a legit ring of power, but Gandalf does have one.
Sure.
But I don't know if it's one of the ones Sauron made. It's one of those weird ones where, guys, I'm not that up to date on Lord of the Rings lore. I don't have an in-depth knowledge. My knowledge comes from all supplementary material.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Glorfindel would make a great Grand General just because, one, he could easily move about the battlefield should he wish. Two, he does have access to magic, which is kind of a big deal in a fantasy setting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, you don't think of people in Lord of the Rings other than people like Gandalf or, I guess, Sauron and obviously Saruman as being, like, mages at all, but, like, yeah, there is magic. You see Arwen do the shit with the river. I'm assuming Glorfindel does something very similar otherwise with the river to get rid of the ring wraiths, does he? Or
yeah, that's Glorfindel's scene.
Okay, so he literally does the same thing.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, very useful.
I will put an asterisk there. If I recall correctly, he does.
Sure, yeah, like water horses and everything.
Yeah. It's one of those weird things where, like, elves are just generally magic in Lord of the Rings lore. Like, if you play any game based on Lord of the Rings, elves just have magic. I don't know if they're that magically inclined in the canon, but in video games they are.
Yeah, I guess that's why rangers have magic in D&D, because they're all based on elves.
Well, it's one of those.
It's elf class.
Ranger's a weird beast where it's just like everything, every full caster needs a half-caster version, and ranger's meant to be like Druid-like.
Yeah, like micro-druid, yeah.
But anyway, let's not get bogged down in D&D talk. Yeah, Glorfindel's great. I think he could fill any slot in the army, so him being Grand General makes sense. I also think he'd be willing to make the call to just be like, this battle's a fucking wash, let's retreat and fight another day.
Yeah, that's actually also a reasonably useful thing to have, is someone who can accept that something is a lost cause, yeah.
Yeah, like, you could, like, shit, if he didn't go batshit insane, like, I think, like, peak Loghain would also be a pretty good candidate for Grand General.
Yeah.
When he's...
Yeah, because he's definitely got the pluck behind, not the pluck behind him, he punches up and down, and he doesn't have any compunctions about either.
Well, I fully expect that if Kaelin wasn't such a brat and actually listened to Loghain's advice, Loghain probably wouldn't have left him to die.
Yeah.
But as we learn later on, Loghain had actual issues.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry, I got sidetracked by talking about Loghain, who is a very interesting character, instead of Glorfindel, who is also an interesting character, but he's kind of bullshit OP strong, and that's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Rick, who will be your Grand General today?
This is one that I don't think you would have ever expected me to pick. I'm picking a pre/mid-heresy Magnus the Red.
Magnus the Red. Okay.
Yeah. I think he's the most interesting individual Primarch.
You're wrong, but go on.
Okay. In terms of like how like rounded his power set is, in that he's literally as strong as any other Primarch, because that's just what they all are. They're all just like ridiculously OP. But you know, he's also like the biggest, baddest caster and, you know, has a reasonable and credible amount of precognition.
I think the only one who has like better precognition is Sanguinus, but he doesn't get to choose when it happens.
Yeah. And as long as this is not after the heresy, he could be kind of mostly trusted to be trying to do the right thing, because even during the heresy, he was trying to warn the Emperor, trying to do the right thing, and it was only when things like didn't work out that way and like the Space Wolves were like, no, you're being a knob, that he was like, well, fuck it, I guess I'll be a villain then.
Yeah, but doesn't that itself speak to your character?
Yeah, but by the same token, a lot of my other picks are also kind of villainous. So I think they would generally mostly work well together.
Yeah, I'm looking at my list, and I think except for one, all of mine are heroes. So we really are going opposite routes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I won't deny that having Magnus as your Grand General is a pretty good pick, because he is tough to kill, but he does also, as you say, have the biggest psychic range of the heretics.
Yeah, and he also, you know, he's also got the downside of he doesn't necessarily know what's going on underneath him. That's a bit of a flaw in that, like, he was able to just let Ahriman do his rubric right under his nose that, like, killed his entire legion.
Well, that's the problem specifically with the Chaos Primarchs, is they all seem to have that flaw where they don't really pay attention to their own sons, much like the Emperor didn't pay attention to them. Because Typhus did the exact same thing in the Death Guard.
Yeah, they all hold the villain ball for just long enough for things to go bad.
Like Mortarion, I actually feel sorry for, because he's just like, man, fucking, my dad don't love me, and my kids hate me.
Yeah. Yeah. Plus, you know, I think it's useful for a thing like this, like especially when you're basing something at least around slightly Warhammer 40k, that your leader needs to be able to throw hands, and you can't do much better than a massive model that is like bigger than a can of pop.
Well, again, that's if we're going pre-heresy, pre-fall, he's not as big as he is.
Yeah, he's not that big. He's not that big before the fall, but yeah, he's still Primarch sized, like, which is still like kind of pop guy. But yeah, he's not like 3 Bloodthirsters.
He's not 3 Bloodthirst. Do you mean Bloodletters?
I guess, yeah.
Well, Bloodthirsters are massive, Rick.
Yeah, because he's like maybe 1.5 Bloodthirsters normally, isn't he?
Oh, the actual him as Magnus the Red, the Demon Primarch, he's like 2 Bloodthirsters. He's very tall.
Yeah, he's rather big. Yeah.
But pre that, he's the same size as all the others. He does get one of the cooler weapons, but that's because I'm a real fucking... I'm really gay for spears.
Spear sexual.
I love spears. They're my favourite weapons.
Yeah, a pointy on a stick.
Yeah.
I think you even told me that your original playthroughs of like most Souls games is with a spear.
Okay, my original playthrough of Dark Souls 1 and 2 were a spear, because you didn't get a spear straight away, and I love spears, and it made it easy to block and stab. But you then got the Herald class in Dark Souls 3, and I went, this class was made for me. And the first 3 bosses are really bad to attack with just a stab.
Yeah.
You need a swing.
Dark Souls 3 is one of the worst games to use a shield in as well, because, you know, nearly everything does elemental damage.
Yeah, Dark Souls 3 is just like, no shield for me anymore. Great sword, fuck everyone else.
Yep, just 2-hand stuff, yeah. Oh, man. But yeah, that's my strategist. My general, sorry. Who's going to be your strategist?
My strategist is... I'm taking a slightly nerfed version of this character just for the sake of fair play and funsies.
Sure.
I'm taking Zhuge Liang from It's Your Boy, Kong Ming.
Yeah, okay. So you're picking a specifically gag version of a character and not the historical / Fanon Three Kingdoms version.
Okay, so I can't take the historical version because I think I silently vowed not to take we need to do another version of this where we do the exact same thing but we use historical people. However, I'm also looking at my list and another person is also technically historical, but you know, whatever. Yeah, I'm taking Zhuge Liang. I'm taking the It's Your Boy Kong Ming version just for lols, but like it is just Zhuge Liang. If you watch that anime, the scenario he's in is stupid, but he's still just Zhuge Liang.
Sure. Is that the one that's on Netflix?
I don't think it's on Netflix. I had to fucking get it from means.
The internet, yeah.
And
okay.
it was really quite annoying because the subtitles were great, except they didn't subtitle the fucking music. So
yeah, okay.
which is a big problem because about 30% of the anime is music.
Sure, okay.
Yeah, I picked Zhuge Liang because Zhuge Liang is great. If you take any fantasy version of Zhuge Liang, he becomes godlike.
Yeah, because they turn tactician into mage usually.
Well, you got the mage aspect, sure, but that's not even a thing for Itchy Boy Kong Ming. He just uses regular old stuff. But they upgrade every good tactic or strategy that Shu ever did gets credited to Zhuge Liang when you take a fictional version of him.
Sure, okay.
Even in the Romance of the Three Kingdoms, he's credited with a lot more stratagems than he actually pulled off.
Yeah.
So, historically, like Liu Bei came up with his fair share of tactics and stratagems, but they just get associated with Zhuge Liang because it's the writer thing. To make a compelling tale, you need the smart character to be smart.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, I could talk about Three Kingdoms all day, so to avoid that fate, let's throw over to you for your strategist.
This is the one that you already know. It's Mithro Nuruodo. It's Grand Admiral Thrawn himself. I just went through a few things of who would I pick more than Thrawn. Yes, he can be beaten. Yes, there are people who do beat him in the even in Star Wars, but those are individuals that do it once. Thrawn usually learns from it, and if we're going by the current canon, he's learned from it very well and has continued living.
Rick, am I mistaken, but is this not literally just a rematch of our strategist battle in the Rumble?
It might be. I don't think we're actually fighting them against each other this time, but yes, it's rather telling. We've just picked the same guy again. Yeah. I picked Thrawn. You pick Waver.
I didn't pick Waver. That version of Zhuge Liang sucks.
Yeah. But yeah, Thrawn, wicked cultured. I think he could take very good command of pretty much any standard army, but knowing exactly what he has is even better because he's really good at making the best of idiosyncrasies in weird units that he has under his command.
I will say in the brief moments in the Ahsoka show that we saw him in, they did a really bad job of showing this element of his character.
Yeah, because all he does is kind of like stand on top of a pile of plans and go, oh yes, I'm doing well, I'm going to do my thing, I'm going to succeed, and then I do.
Yeah, but it's like it's one of those really annoying things where I get what they're going for. A strategist needs to think of the grand plan and not the individual battles. But they show every single one of his fucking units getting wiped out and destroyed, but it's like they were just a distraction, so it doesn't matter. And it's like, okay, but it's not a good way of showing the character being smart.
Yeah, it doesn't show the character being smart. All it shows is his troops being loyal, and they are. Like, he's got his Kintsugi stormtroopers, which look really cool. Like they've obviously been under his command and like loyal to him for quite some time. But then again, what else would they do? They're stuck in another universe.
Yeah, it's one of those where it fell real flat, and it's a shame. I was really looking forward to seeing Admiral Thrawn on the quote-unquote big screen, and like the actor did a fine job. I just think the writing was lacking.
Yeah, I mean, now that he's going to be back in the main universe, maybe they'll be able to do more things with him that are going to be, a little bit more satisfying.
Maybe, but it's very weird because the Empire's no more, and all the Star Wars stories from now on are just remnants of the Empire trying to be the Empire again, and it's kind of getting stale.
And gearing up to becoming the First Order.
Sure.
Which, nobody likes. But yes, after my strategist Thrawn, who's going to be your number one guy, your vanguard?
Okay, so I just want to briefly explain what vanguard, middle guard, and rear guard are for those of you listening that don't understand. It's a very medieval system of organising your forces. The reason why we picked it is literally the reason why I picked it and forced Rick to do it is it's a very easy way to just be like, pick 3 generals. But you can't just pick 3 generals and be like, that's it. That makes no sense. So, rearguard, if you're leading your army in a column, vanguard leads the front, middle guard leads the middle, rearguard leads the back, and usually will guard you if you're on a retreat. Hideyoshi Toyotomi very famously made his name by being the rearguard during a really difficult battle for Nobunaga. The other way it works is if you've got your army formed in like a row, so it goes left, middle, right, the vanguard will be on the right, middle guard in the middle, rearguard on the left. Don't ask why, that's just how it works.
These are a little bit more nebulous for my picks, but I still follow the same idea of vanguard being your shock trooper and your rearguard being the one that holds the line.
Yeah, rearguard typically, if you've got the column, wouldn't join the battle unless, one, you're routing the enemy, or two, you've been routed, so they need to defend your flanks.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
On to Vanguard. My Vanguard general is going to be Iskandar from Fate.
Okay. What does he do?
Iskandar is Alexander the Great.
Okay. Sure. Yeah. Usually a pretty good pick for a grand general or maybe even a strategist. But yeah, you can't do much better than the man who conquered quite a lot of the world.
What was it? There was a darts commentator once that was like, Alexander the Great once conquered the world at 27. Eric Bristol's only 26.
Oh boy. Oh, it's daft.
I love commentators. They come up with some weird shit. But anyway, Iskandar's my Vanguard because he is not afraid of fucking leading the charge. If you look up any historical battle report of Alexander the Great's conquests, he was almost always in the flank that charged first.
Sure, yeah, and it's one of these where it's also useful that if the rest of the army is in some way compromised, he can always just pick up the reins.
He could, yeah, but it's one of those. It's one of those. Ideally, that doesn't happen because that means your army's on the way to defeat.
Yeah. You don't want to be losing, but just in case you are, he might be able to snatch the victory from the jaws of defeat.
I think the biggest issue with having Iskandar be the Vanguard is he'd want to be the Grand General.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I get you.
He wants to be in charge. He wants to be the one who wins. Basically, it's good to have someone motivated in that position, but too motivated and they're gonna start butting heads, and that leads to issues.
I'm the video game boy. I am the one who wins.
To be fair, that might be one of the best jokes Aaron has ever made.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Yeah. Instantly quotable as well.
But yeah, Iskandar's great. He's got the military knowledge of Alexander the Great combined with anime bullshit powers.
Anime the Great.
Yeah, so in Fate he's a rider class, so he's always either on a horse or riding his chariot drawn by 2 oxen.
Sure.
So he really can lead a charge no matter what scenario, and that's kind of what you want from your Vanguard, so that's why I've put him there. He also has a noble phantasm that just summons another army.
Okay.
So if we're allowed to use their bullshit anime powers, he could just do that in a pinch.
Yeah, fair enough. Like, even if the army that he has is the one that he has summoned, like, worst case scenario, it's the one that he's, like, really comfortable with.
Okay, so here's the thing. The army that he summons is every single troop that he's ever inspired.
Oh, okay.
So it is massive.
Yeah, and that includes, like, people from the future, like, who have been inspired by his legend in history, yeah.
Yeah, anyone who's been inspired by him directly, anyone who's loyal to him, that's just his army. It's honestly one of the best scenes in Fate is when he uses that noble phantasm, because it's just like, yeah, fucking Alexander the Great was a big fucking deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I've waxed lyrical enough. Rick, who is going to take the honour of being your Vanguard General?
My number 1 is the most grizzled badass that I could think of. Bigger than any other Primarch, and tougher and more entertaining. It's Urdnot Rex.
You know what? As soon as you said bigger, I was like, he's going to say a Krogan, but I don't know which one.
Yeah, I picked Rex. I picked Rex over Grunt because he's got the experience. He's not shy about going into war head first, and it's like in The Lion King where Pumbaa just charges and like knocks people over like a bowling ball. He's that, but on 2 legs
and with a shotgun.
Yeah.
Here's the thing: is
and regeneration.
Oh yeah. Here's the thing: is we know Rex. We've travelled with Rex. Rex is interesting for a Krogan because we don't just get the brute force bullshit Krogan. We get the I'm actually intelligent and know what I'm doing Krogan.
Yes, we get we get grandfather Rex rather than just brute Rex. Like, you can take him away from the front lines and you wax lyrical about the Krogan need to change and I'll drag them to greatness kicking and screaming if I have to.
Yeah, here's the thing is if you've got Urdnot Reeve in charge of that fucking clan, I'm like, fuck that, the Genophage has to stay. But if Rex is in charge, it's like, I trust Rex.
Yeah, absolutely. That's literally the dynamic that you have going on with them. That Rex, you can trust his entire regime and the people that he inspires and raises and just leaves behind as a legacy. For example, Grunt, to carry forth something that you can be proud of defending. You know,
absolutely, man. And I know it makes me sound really callous of just like, if anyone other than Rex is in charge, the Krogan have to fucking stay gone. But it's so true.
There are other ones that would work, like a lot of the females would have worked,
but they're not allowed to be in charge.
Yeah. So Reeve is a shit. Gatatog Uvenk is a shit. A lot of Krogan just are not good. But Rex, absolute boss. Who's going to be your middle guard?
My middle guard is going to be Raiko from Mortal Kombat.
Okay.
So Raiko is an interesting character. He's basically Shao Kahn's number 2.
Sure.
So obviously in the recent reboot, Shao Kahn is just General Khan, but in previous games, Shao Kahn was the leader of Outrealm. So he needed a general, and his general was Raiko. And Raiko is a very competent general. And bear in mind, he's in Outworld, where they're constantly fighting.
Yeah. Yeah, just a lot of people in the Mortal Kombat universe would actually be pretty good here. But yeah, that seems like a pretty good pick there.
Yeah, he's pretty decent. He's got a bunch of costumes where he's just wearing armor, so it makes him look 10 times cooler. But just basically think Shao Kahn, but a little bit less douchey.
Yeah.
Like, Raiko isn't all about conquest. He conquers a lot because he's usually following Shao Kahn's orders, but he's good at following orders.
Yeah,
so
totally.
As a middle guard under the command of the Grand General, I think he would perform perfectly.
Nice. Okay, cool.
I think he'd also inspire the troops a lot by his first act in a battle always being, "I challenge you to Mortal Kombat," to the enemy general.
Yeah, time for Mortal Kombat!
But yeah, anyway, Raiko's great. As I said, like, I think the two traits that I've listed make him undeniably a decent middle guard.
Yeah, and like you say, a villain general who's not always 100% villainous, you know?
He is still from Outrealm, so
yeah,
he's very trigger happy when it comes to murder.
Okay.
But he probably won't murder you unless he's already beaten you in combat, in which case it's kind of not murder, and at that point just turns to warfare.
Yeah. I guess you could just kind of use that on like pretty much anything to do with war. It's not murder if it's war.
Okay, but like
Jesus.
the Geneva Convention exists, Rick, and if you say the words "I surrender" and put your hands up, you're meant to be a prisoner of war and not executed.
Yep.
Russia. Yep. Anyway, Rick, who's going to be the leader of your middle guard?
In a similar vein, I'm picking the Princesses of Power version of Hordak.
Wouldn't call that sci-fi, but go on.
Well, I'd say it's more sci-fi than a lot of other things, because, you know, he's got his robot army of tanks and shit.
Yeah, that's fair, and he also gets a Mega Buster.
Yeah, he does. He's like not super magical, but you know, he's got the stuff that he gets upgraded by Entraptor. I'm picking him over Horde Prime because Horde Prime very definitely would want to be the Grand General and would make a really bad job of it because he's a dick. Whereas our Hordak, he knows how to fall into a larger scheme of a larger army, but also is like relatively good at commanding his own thing. Like he's taken control of his like chunk of the entire planet already, and he's not done the entire planet itself, but like he's still done pretty well.
Yeah, I think Hordak would benefit from having someone overseeing him, having a proper Grand General. And what you say about Horde Prime is entirely spot on, because Horde Prime isn't actually a good commander. Like,
yeah, he just has infinite resources.
That's exactly it. Like when it's the Hydra. When one head is removed, 3 more grow in its place. It's hard to fight against something like that. That's not good strategy. That's just immense resources.
Yeah, it's just infinity. Like how do you fight infinity? Well, infinity +1. Or you go for the head. But yeah, like with Horde Prime, like you say, he can just like take control of a different one. So yeah, he doesn't need strategy when he's got his resources. Whereas Hordak does need strategy because he is only himself, especially especially knowing that he's slightly defective in terms of being a Horde Prime clone.
I think one of the other problems with Hordak is that he's also not that great, strategically speaking, because, yeah, you're right, he does have to use his own resources to take over Etheria, but Etheria's really shit.
Yeah. But they do have magical bullshit, and he does, like, hold his own against that to a degree.
Yeah, but when the tanks come in, the only thing that can beat the tanks is the fucking She-Ra, so, you know.
Yeah. So yeah, he's going to be my middle guard, and yeah, he's. You're seeing that I've got a lot of. I think Rex is currently my least villainous person on my team so far.
In that he's not a villain.
Yeah. But yes, who's going to be your rear guard?
My rear guard is going to be Eivor from Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Ah, yes, the Viking fella.
Yeah, the Viking leader, the Viking player character, because Eivor could be either male or female. Canonically, they're female.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, female that's a reincarnation of like Thor or something, or Odin or whatever.
Yeah, reincarnation of Odin. I really like the detail as well, because one of the reasons why Loki's reincarnation couldn't find Odin for so long is because he didn't think to check women.
That's rather cute.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, yeah. And the excuse if you're playing as a male Eivor, is literally you've got a beard that covers up your scar. It's so dumb.
Dumb, daft, silly.
Yeah. But yeah, Eivor's a Viking, automatically makes them pretty good at leading folk. The reason why I've got them leading my rear guard is because if shit goes south and you have to make a fighting retreat, I want a fucking Viking in charge.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I like that.
So yeah, Eivor's well informed when it comes to Viking tactics, like forming shield walls and where to position archers and whatnot. And you know what? They'd probably make a semi-decent naval commander in their own right, given the fact that they're regularly in charge of a longboat.
Yeah, and if you're going by like Assassin's Creed logic as well, then they also get the benefit of future knowledge from the player character.
That's not how that works.
Do they not? Okay.
They sort of stopped doing that after Desmond.
Sure.
But yeah, sometimes they get glimpses of things in the future, but the future thing is always nonsense ESAL bullshit.
Sure. I don't mean like what's going to happen in the future. I mean more like we know about how things work kind of idea.
I don't understand what you mean.
So like I'm going to say, for instance, knowing how meteorology works for predicting the weather, for instance, which might help with navigation more than trying to predict things from shamanism.
I don't think that's a thing you get given.
Sure. Okay.
Like I think what you're describing isn't how that works.
Right. Okay.
But yeah. Anyway. Yeah. And Eivor being the player character, you can pick whatever fighting style you want. You want to use an axe in each hand? Go for it. You want a giant Dane axe, two-handed axe? Go for it. Do you want this special skill that no one can actually do, which is wield a two-handed weapon in each hand? Go for it.
Yeah! Always looks cool, though.
It looks dumb, Rick. It looks so dumb. The handles are too long. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Unless you're in...
I've tried to like dual-wielding freaking ultra great swords in Dark Souls 2. Yeah, it don't go well.
But yeah, Eivor's rear guard for the reasons why I listed. I think they're a decent pick. I also tried to go for more niche things than just like the obvious. That's why I went for Mortal Kombat and Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
So Rick, who gets the honour of leading your rear guard?
I'm going for one who combos with another character. Who better to hold the line than one who very definitely does hold the line, and sometimes if things go wrong, gives his life holding the line. Mordin Solus. He's not the best rear guard, however, he's a very good addition to this team in that he's a useful medic, a fantastic science officer, and yeah, he does hold the line. He's also a really good combo with Rex because curing the genophage means that Rex's morale is going to be at all-time high.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree. I don't think Mordin Solus counts as a general figure. I think you've made a poor choice here.
Fair enough. Yeah, my back flank is actually weak, but I think he's a good addition to the army, even if you have to sacrifice that slot to have him.
I don't think he's worth it though, because it means when you're retreating, you're fucked. I understand the logic of hold the line, but that was a Kirahi thing, not a Mordin thing. I know Mordin references it. Mordin works well in a small scrod, certainly, but I don't think he's capable as a general of an entire flank of an army.
Okay, yeah, well, I appreciate that, and that's the point of the discussions, is that we don't always have to agree on everything.
No, that's fine. I just think if I was making a sci-fi army, I'd kick the shit out of you.
Almost certainly.
Well, let's be honest, Rick. But going into this, if we were actively competing and both picking a sci-fi themed list, I'd already know who your strategist is going in.
Yeah, totally. Like, unless I tried to counterpick myself, which, I did try to counterpick myself, but, like, we weren't even trying to fight. So, yeah, why not? Why not pick Thrawn? He's cool. Okay, so who's going to be your final pick? The Strike Force leader, your special character.
Yeah, I wouldn't call him a special character, but because what I had in mind for this category was literally a leader of a Strike Force / Raiders, I picked Guts.
Yeah. Yeah. He's an absolute wrecking ball.
He's an absolute wrecking ball. I'm specifically picking Golden Age Guts, where he was literally in charge of the Raiders for the Band of the Hawk.
Yeah. So I've not actually watched or read Berserk, so all I know is Guts from memes.
Yeah, Guts is great.
Yeah.
Guts, Golden Age, has got plenty of trauma, but the bulk of his trauma hasn't happened yet. Obviously, he's still working with Griffith. He's still got a big fuck-off sword, it's just nowhere near as big.
Yeah.
So the reason why Guts has a big fuck-off sword, even from the get-go, is when he was a kid in his father's quote-unquote mercenary band, he picked up a fucking long sword that was twice his size, and since then he's always just carried a big fuck-off sword because he's used to it.
Yeah, he's used to something twice his size, yeah.
Okay.
Did he have his crossbow arm back then as well, or is that later?
No, that happens at the end of Golden Age.
Okay.
It's when he sustains that injury.
Sure.
But yeah, Guts, leader of the Raiders, during this time period is when he became the 100-Man Slayer. Can you tell why he got that name?
Because he killed 100 men.
Yeah. And because at this
point... It's a big deal for someone who's, not anime bullshit. Like, yes, he's anime bullshit, and this shows why he is, but, like, it's meant to be kind of more realistic, isn't it?
At this point in the story, it's very much grounded in realism, or tries to be grounded in realism for the combat scenes. So yeah, killing 100 men is a big deal. It's such a big deal killing 100 men that in the Koei Berserk game, which is basically a Warriors game but Berserk, it's like, cool, here's the 100-Man Slayer fight, except you're playing a Warriors game where killing 100 people is trivially easy. Fuck it, 1,000-Man Slayer.
Yep, but even that is like the gold standard. No, it's not even the gold standard. It's it's like the A rank of most Warriors games now is 1,000 per fight.
It really depends on which Warriors game you're playing, but like in the most recent one, Dynasty Warriors Origins, it's pretty common to kill like 3,000 plus people in a map.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, Guts is my pick. I can't think of any other fantasy level character who would make a better raid / Strike Force leader. Maybe a Fire Emblem character, but even then, if they went up against Guts, they'd get fucking wrecked, unless it was Hector.
Yeah, man, I love Hector. He's such a cool guy.
He's very cool. But yes, Rick, who is going to be your pick for your Strike Force / raid leader?
It is one General Anakin Skywalker.
I was very surprised not to see Anakin or Obi-Wan appear before now.
Yeah, I think he works better as an independent character, as it were, than as a commander. Yes, he's obviously got his clones that are very loyal to him, but they tend to mostly act on their own. They're basically just Rex's clones. Like, actually, though, right? Like, it's just Rex's army, and Anakin just is there as well, doing a separate episode at the same time.
Yeah, Anakin being a Strike Force leader makes perfect sense, because it means he can get away with more of his war crimes.
Yeah. When the day is won, nobody's going to care that he that he surrendered and then killed someone.
Dude, that is the worst fucking example of like the time he I know Geneva doesn't exist in fucking Star Wars world, but like it's bad.
Yeah, Space Geneva, yeah. Like, because it didn't like Obi-Wan literally do that in the movie. Like, he surrenders and like starts having tea with this guy while the clones are just like trying to ambush them.
Yeah, so Obi-Wan Kenobi does this just as badly. He negotiates a surrender, except it's not a surrender without conditions. He's like, these are the conditions of surrender, and it's like, we need to negotiate this, we need to negotiate X and Y, we need to make sure there's accommodation for all the prisoners and this. And the other general's just like, this is bullshit and you're stalling for time. And Obi-Wan's like, no, I'm not. You need to negotiate a surrender and this is how you do it. And Obi-Wan knows what he's doing, which makes it very much is a war crime. It's just the line is a bit more blurred when Obi-Wan did it. Anakin straight up had his hands up and was surrendering before fucking shooting a motherfucker.
Yep. Yeah. Anakin is very definitely the kind of person that, yeah, if you're like rolling up a Warhammer army, you pick this kind of character because they're bullshit.
It's like, what's the thing Chuckles says? Geneva Convention, more like Geneva Suggestion.
Go, my child soldiers. Yeah. Oh, man. But yeah, like out of yours, the one that I can like pick like straight up, obviously Guts is iconic, but I really like the idea of Ivor because you said it yourself, like you really want someone like a Viking covering your flank when you're if you're retreating, especially when they got the smarts to be a commander in their own right.
Absolutely. Have you ever heard of the Berserker at Stamford Bridge?
Maybe.
Oh, you've heard of the battle at Stamford Bridge?
Maybe.
Oh, Jesus Christ! Don't worry. That's fine. That's a tangent for another day.
If it's history, I probably haven't heard about it.
Yeah, it's history.
Let's be honest.
It's history. It's not made up.
Yeah,
it's fine. Don't worry.
Back when like Vikings were a thing and all that. Yeah.
Don't worry. I won't get into it because you don't know. It's fine. Eivor's a good person. I liked Assassin's Creed Valhalla. It was great. I think when it comes to your lot, I think I'd go for Rex, but that's basically because he's the only person who's not a piece of shit on your team.
Yeah.
Not counting Mordin because I don't count him as a general. I think that was a solid poor pick on your part.
Sure, yeah. Like Rex, like other than Mordin, Rex and Anakin are the only ones that are like.
Anakin's got a big fucking asterisk, my dude.
Yes, he does. So yeah, like all of them, like I think Mordin is the only one that you wouldn't be able to like count as like renegade at worst. Rex very definitely is more on the renegade side than the Paragon side, let's say. But yes, that's our picks for today for our fantasy fights. Leave us some comments. We got the comment section down below on YouTube or on Spotify. Let us know who you would have added to an army of your own, why we are wrong in picking ones that we didn't pick. Maybe what you would have picked for a naval commander, which is the additional category that we didn't go over because I don't have a naval commander that's not Grand Admiral Thrawn again. If you don't have the comment section on YouTube or Spotify, however, you can instead send the same kind of comments on an email to
nonsensereviewuk@gmail.com. We are absolutely eager to hear from you.
Yeah, absolutely. But yes, that's going to be a goodbye from me.
Goodbye, guys. We'll see you next week.